Break free of the past. So back in 1991, I was in the first grade and I had a teacher whose name was Mrs. Mertz. And Mrs. Mertz was a um, older teacher. She was up there in age. In fact, it was her last year of teaching, so she was actually retiring. So you can imagine how old she seemed to me when I was only six years old. My mom would dress me really sharp for school. I would usually be wearing like a sweater, and then she would put on like I'd have like underneath of it like a button-down shirt or a polo or something like that. So I was always dressed really sharp for school. And I got to school and I sat down in my desk, and these desks were from the late 70s, right? So I'm going to school in the 90s, so these desks are like 20 years old, which I mean, late 70s is ancient to me at that point. And I put my hand under the desk and I felt something kind of hard and bulgy down there. You ever get that feeling? And sure enough, when I pulled at it and kind of saw what it was someone's gum. And I found that to be pretty gross. So tonight we're going to be talking about not being stuck in the past. And what I just told you was a pointless story. It didn't have any point to it. It doesn't have anything to do with anything we're talking about tonight. So how do you feel about being told a pointless story? What's great about a pointless story is it can be quite entertaining. What's terrible about a pointless story is it's pointless. So you can do nothing with it. You can't learn from it. You can't connect it to anything. It doesn't have any point. And I tell you this story because unfortunately, many trauma survivors spend their lives, their social lives, telling people pointless stories. Many trauma survivors are telling pointless stories because they interact with others based on the past. They just talk about the past. And what they do is when one idea or thought gets introduced, they will take that idea or thought and they will link it to something in their past, an experience they had, like when they were 20 years old and they were riding in their first convertible, and then they're telling the story. And again, the story is quite entertaining. However, it doesn't have a point. And they're telling these pointless stories because it seems to relate to the subject at hand or to something that triggered this memory. And the problem is that they live in the past. Some trauma survivors are so stuck in the past, they cannot get over what happened to them. And so they define themselves by what happened to them. They define themselves by what they experienced, by their trauma, by their past. Some trauma survivors are so extreme in their feeling stuck in the past that they find themselves ruminating constantly over and over, thinking and thinking and thinking about the bad things that happened in the past. And some survivors can't stop talking about the bad things that happened in the past. With one woman, she contacted me. She was in distress. She said, "I don't even know if you can help me." And she started explaining, they took my land, they took my property. Uh, I asked her, how long did this happen? Something like 10 years ago. Okay. Let's try to work with her, talk to her. No matter what we talked about through the session, her answer, her reply always went back to, they took my land, they took my property. That was everything I had. They took my land, they took my property. If we're over here talking about this, if she's speaking, she will wind it back to, they took my land, they took my property. It was one of the most extreme cases I'd ever seen of being stuck in the past, in the what happened, in the things that we cannot control. So if you're a person who finds themselves stuck in the past, why is that? Do you identify as someone who's stuck in the past? Let's do a free association. So I'll throw out some random words, and with a pen or paper, you just write down the first thing that comes to your head, or whatever you think of. It doesn't have to be anything particular. I'm going to name a random word, and you're just going to write down what is the first thought that comes to your head. First word, money. Money. What's the first thing that comes to your head? You just write it down on your own piece of paper. No need to comment it. Second word, house. House. What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Third word, cupcake. Cupcake. What's the first thought, experience, concern that comes to your mind? Fourth word, easy. Easy. Fifth word, friends. Friends. So what I want you to do is just look at what you come up with when we name these words, with what you come up with. Are any of them rooted in the past? When you did the free association, did you find that some of the things that first came to your mind was something in the past, some experience, some story in the past, someone in the past, something in the past? That could be a sign that you're one of these people who are stuck in the past. And so today we're going to learn how to break free of the past, because we don't want to be defined by what happened to us. We don't want to be stuck in our trauma or in anything in the past. We want to be thinking in the future and in the present. What a healthy person does when they hear a word like money is they think about their current financial situation or the financial situation they would like to be in the future. That's the first thing that a healthy person thinks: their current financial situation or their financial situation for the future. When they hear house, they think about their current house that they live in or the house that they would like to live in the future. When a healthy person hears cheese or cupcake, they think about maybe a song, maybe something they've seen before. Maybe they saw a cupcake in the store. But if they're healthy, they'll probably think about their current association with cupcakes, what they have in the refrigerator, whether they have it or not, and if they would like to have cupcakes or cheese in the future. What a healthy person thinks about when they think of friends is their current group of friends now and what type of group of friends they would like to have in the future. They don't think only about the past. So what is keeping you stuck in the past? Because hearing you be stuck in the past is one of the most painful parts of my job. And not just because the stories are pointless, which they are, but that's not the most painful part, because the stories are actually entertaining. You're quite good at telling your stories about the past. The reason it's painful is because I'm watching you be trapped, be stuck like a prisoner, stuck in the past. I'm not bored, I'm hurt to see that you're not living in the present and future. Here's where all the power is. There's no power in the past. What are you going to do back there? All the power is here. Your ability to affect change and to fulfill your purpose and potential is all here in the present and in the future. So what is keeping you stuck in the past? Is it because you feel like you're to blame for what happened, or you're stuck blaming someone else for what happened? It's cognitive distortion, right? Or maybe you're stuck on the fairness or the unfairness, the injustice of what happened in the past. But that's cognitive distortion as well, right? Or maybe you're stuck on the fact that you feel like you should feel shame. So you get stuck in shame identity. You feel shame about the past and the things that happen. It just all makes you feel shame and embarrassment. You just stay stuck there. Maybe it's your mind trying to keep you safe from feeling that shame again, from feeling that embarrassment again. Or maybe you're a should'er, someone who makes a lot of should statements. I should have done this. I should have done that. Oh, by now I should already have this. But that's cognitive distortion too, right? Or maybe you're stuck in overgeneralization. Like, well, because I had one bad experience with one bad person or with three bad persons, that means all the people are bad. If they look like this, if they stand like this, then those are the people I want to stay away from. Or is it that you're stuck in personalization? Like, well, the fact that all that happened must be because of me. Or are you stuck in catastrophizing in the past tense? Like, everyone must have been talking about me. Everyone must have hated me. Or are you stuck in jumping to negative conclusions about what happened? Well, they didn't hire me for the job, so clearly they didn't like the fact that I'm short or tall. Is it that you're mind reading? Is that why you're stuck in the past? You know why I think he did that? I think his intentions were that he was really trying to get over on me. I think he was trying to blah blah blah. So we're mind reading. Like, oh, I know why. I know what he was really thinking. Or do we just tend to discredit the positive in life? So here we have a house, a child, a dog, and we're just like, yeah, but I don't have a husband. I mean, this is nice. It's nice having these things. I did always want these things, but I don't have everything. I don't have a husband. What's keeping you stuck in the past? We have the tendency as humans to, by our default state, focus on the negative. That's our default state. It's part of the survival mechanism of the animal brain, right? So the whole idea is that you're looking at a beautiful garden of flowers, but you're going to focus on the spider, right? So why do you focus on the spider? Well, because that's the thing that could pose the biggest threat, and that keeps us safe. So some of us feel like by staying in the past, we're going to stay safe because back there was some pitfall, there was something we tripped in, and we got to keep searching and looking at it and looking at it because, well, we don't want to fall again. But of course, that's fallacy of thinking too, isn't it? Because if we're looking behind us at all the pitfalls that we tripped in, then we're more likely to trip walking forward. So we do better to take our attention and to turn it forward on where you're currently stepping and standing and where you intend to go. Repeat after me. I want to be successful. I want to be successful. We need to get out of survival mode, safety mode, and get into success mode. The default state is the survival safety. Don't beat yourself up. We all go back there, right? If we're not consciously moving into success mode. Success mode is being goal-oriented, is being purpose-driven, is seeking to fulfill potential. That's where we want to be. Goal-oriented, purpose-driven, right? That's success. Success is the fulfillment of your goals. So just remind yourself, I want to be successful. Not I want to survive. No, not good enough. Not I want to stay safe. That's bare minimum. I want to be successful. It's okay. It's okay to say that. I want to be successful. You must think it. You must believe it. It must be a part of the very core, the very fiber of your being, because then you will naturally become a less past driven, past stuck person. When we let go of the idea that we should be trying to be successful as humans, then you're meandering with no purpose. It's no wonder you may fall into telling pointless stories because you don't know what you're doing. You'll have difficulty prioritizing. You don't know what's important anymore. And then you'll say, I have ADHD. That's what the doctor told me. I have ADHD. And so that's why I don't half the time know where I'm going, what I'm doing, what I'm thinking. But part of the problem is that we're not channeling our abilities because a person with ADHD has special abilities like hyperfocus, and we're not channeling those abilities to help us to be more successful. Instead, we're just going with the feels. Do you find yourself going with the feels, going with the flows? If you allow yourself to be driven by fear, by feelings, by the current tide that's just moving you, you're not in control of your life. You are stuck in the past. So we have to where the control is. The control is all here in the present and the future. Go ahead and wake up for a second. Look down at yourself. Look at your hands. This is the moment. This is the moment you can finally control something. You can do something right now. There is nothing back there. In the past, what exists for us in the past? Everything's already concrete. It's already frozen, right? It's cementified. Cemented, I think would be the correct word. Everything in the past is just immovable. It's just there. I mean, of course, we could change the way we look at it. And we can change the story, I guess, too. But scientifically speaking, it just is what it is. You can't technically change the past. So therefore, we have no power over the past, except for how we look at it. So how should we look at the past? It should be to search for and extract lessons. That's it. There is nothing else of value in the past. I'll give you the entertaining stories. I'll give you that. Got some entertaining stories back there. I'll give you that. But there is nothing of value for us in the past except the lessons and the stories. Just the lessons and the stories. And a story without a lesson becomes a pointless story. So if you're not good at going back and extracting the lesson, you need to practice. So from now on, whenever you start to think about the past, you need to ask this question. Here's your tool. You need to ask this question. Okay, but what's the lesson? When you ruminate about the past, when you're thinking about the past, they stole my land, they stole my property. Okay, but what's the lesson? That's what you ask yourself. That's how a healthy person associates with the past, you know. When a person is healed, they don't feel the need to find their identity back there. They're formulating their identity, they're living out their identity here in the present and in the future. So when a thought of the past comes, and it might be disturbing, they just ask, okay, but what's the lesson? Because the only thing of benefit from the past is to learn from it. We need to let the past develop us so that we can grow through the trials and not just go through the trials, so that we can be developed and not just deterred, slowed down, petrified, stuck. We can break free. Okay, but what's the lesson? So how often are we supposed to be thinking about the past? Because the fact that you talk about the past a lot is not is that's just a symptom of the fact that you're thinking about the past a lot. The fact that you talk about it just means you think about it. So how much are we supposed to think about the past? Well, there is a healthy ratio. You're only supposed to think about the past 15% of the time. 15% of the time you're supposed to think about the past. 15%, 85% present and future. 85% present and future. What will happen if you start thinking 15% in the past and 85% in your present and future? What will change about your being? Did you know it's toxic to think more than 15% about your past? Did you know that? That's weird. That's a weird thought, right? Because it's your own past. So you figure it's mine. I can think about it as much as I want. No, no. You don't get to do with your brain whatever just feels good. You know that. There's an actual way you have to treat it. Like the hard lesson that I learned from this past story of when I was 20 years old and I finally got a car that was solid. I finally got a car that was solid. And I was driving this car around town and I was in my little counseling job. I was like a little youth counselor, right? I used to help at-risk teenagers. It was good. I had it together. My life was together. I had my first counseling job. I'm 20, right? I got my car. I'm driving this thing everywhere. I would drive around town. I would carry the kids with me. That was counseling and mentoring, right? I was a crisis stabilizer, right? So that's where they call you if they're in a crisis. I love that. Oh, it just still gets my juice boiling. I love that I had that title. And then one day my car just stopped. It just literally, I was on the highway and I was driving it and it just did this. Done. Done, done, done. Tow it to a mechanic with every dime I have left. And the mechanic's like, yeah, this is going to cost the entire cost of the car because your engine is shot. Your engine is completely seized. And I'm like, what? Like, I need this car. I need it for my work. I said, well, you didn't put any oil in the engine. And he was right. I had the car for a long time, like maybe a year and a half or something, without ever putting any oil in the car. Never, never, not one time. And all the time I had it, I never put, I don't know how that happened. I'm sure someone told me to change the oil at some point, but in 19, 20 years of my life, for whatever reason, I didn't realize how important it was that you put oil in a car. I put gas in it. It was working fine. Just like that, the engine will seize and you're done. If you do this one thing wrong, if you don't treat your engine correctly, that is how the brain is. There is a way to do this. I'm giving you the manufacturer instructions. You are not to allow the mind to think about the past more than 15%. 80% of your mind energy needs to be in the present and the future because we got stuff to do and you're not getting it done. You're not moving forward and you're not going to have anything to show when you're stuck in everything that happened. Meanwhile, time is moving forward, and you're looking, you're out of the back window of the station wagon, looking at everything in that's past you, which wouldn't be a problem, except you're supposed to be in the driver's seat of your life. That's where if you're in the driver's seat, then you need to be in the windshield, forward, forward. How much do you check your mirrors? Not more than 15% of the time. This is how you look in your mirrors when you drive, right? It's a quick glance. Okay, I'm back. Right? You don't do this. You don't drive like this. Oh, look at those people back there. Oh, because what? You're gonna crash. So that's how we have to treat the past. It's the rear view. We glance back there. Yeah, you got to glance back there for pieces of information, right? You got to get data. That's what's in the past. You got data, you got lessons. That's all. That's all that's valuable back there. So you got to grab the data sometimes. People say, hey, what's your mother's maiden name? And you're like, oh, I got to check my past for that. Oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Bam, right? But that's it. That's it. But it's the lesson. Okay, so what's the lesson? My boyfriend abused me. Okay, so what's the lesson? Well, I suppose the logical lesson is that I can't trust everyone. The illogical lesson is I can't trust anyone. I can't trust any men. I'm never safe. That's the illogical lesson. The logical lesson is I can't trust everyone. So I need to be careful. Okay, good. Now I've learned a lesson. Now I can take that and move forward. What are some of the things I did wrong? Again, the lesson. Oh, well, maybe I wasn't highly boundaried and assertive enough in the beginning. Okay, good. Now I know. Now I can move forward so that I can develop from the past, so that I can become better, made better by the past, and not just get stuck in it. It will hurt our health when we get stuck there. Mentally, where you put your mind's eye, that's where you're going to go. And so it will slow your development as a person if your mind's eye is in the past. That's not who you are. Who you are is who you're trying to be. That's the definition of who you actually are. No one knows who you are because you're working on it. We base who we think you are on our perception of what we see in the present and what we've seen in the past. But who you actually are is not what happened or what you did or who you were in the past. It's what you're trying to be. That's the definition of who you are, because that's where the core of the intention is. The intention is moving forward. So you have to live in your intention. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? Who are you trying to be? That's who you are. That's who you actually are. And some of us have some really good intentions. Some of us are really trying to be something good, beneficial to ourselves and to others. So let this be the wake-up call to come out of the past. Come out of the past. Grab the lessons. Grab the lessons. You can glance back there every once in a while, like you're glancing in the rear view. But let's get focused here. The present and the future. Here is where we have our things and where we have things we can control. In the past, there's things we don't have and what we cannot control. So we focus everything here. I can control this. What I have, what I can do right now, that's where we focus. And in the future, I have a little control over the future, don't I? Just a little bit. And that's where I focus, the part that I control, not the part that I can't control, not, well, this could happen, or this can happen, and this, not that part, the part I can control. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So there's a hurricane coming for Florida, right where I am. I'm right on the eye of where it's supposed to hit, right? So apparently there hasn't been a hurricane that's coming exactly on this path at this strength. Hasn't been like one like this for 100 years. So do you think that I spent some time researching the hurricane that hit 100 years ago? The answer is yes, but only 15% of my time. Only 15%. Not 100%, because I'll miss the point. What if instead of watching the news and the satellite coverage of the incoming hurricane, I was just researching the hurricane of 1925? Hmm. This hurricane October 25th, or is it 1921 or something like that? I forgot. It was in the 20s. So I'm researching this hurricane in the 20s, and I just keep going down a rabbit hole of this hurricane in the 20s. And I spend the entire day doing that, but I don't ever take a look at the actual path of the storm that's coming towards me. Do you see the detriment in this? It's foolishness. It's beneficial for the lesson. So I went back there for the lesson. When it hit, what was the damage? What was the death toll? I found that information so that I can inform myself. And then I closed that tab on my browser because I can't live there. I need to be in the present and the future. All right. So what are they saying this is going to be? How is this going to hit? What are they advising? And what can I do? So I'm not on the strand of the future of it could be this, it could be that, it's a catastrophe, with no thoughts of where my personal power is. I'm on the strand of the future of where I get in my little car with a couple bags and I drive away from here because that's what I control. I control the ability to evacuate. Doesn't it make sense that I would put my thoughts on that strand of the future. So that's what I keep thinking about. I need to evacuate. When do I have to leave? I have to leave by Tuesday night because the storm comes in on Wednesday morning. Okay, well, very good. What do I need to do now? And then I focus on the present. Well, I need to do my laundry, right? I need to pack a bag. Does this make sense? Present, future, present, future. Not too much of the past. Not too much of the past. Just get the lesson and move forward. Does that make sense? Thanks, Perry. Perry said I should put oil in my car. The car's electric, so we're good. Apparently, I can't handle a proper engine, but the lesson has been learned, and I've had many successful cars since then. I've always changed the oil after that, and hopefully, you learned a lesson from this talk too. So, are you ready? I want to be successful. Allow yourself to be driven by success. Can't all be about safety. Can't all be about survival. Be driven by purpose, by success.